Hello, all you creepy crawlers out there. Welcome to another episode of the Blowing Smoke Podcast with Kimiko Kusanagi. What do these three names have in common? Miriam, Elizabeth, and Akasha. I'll give you a second here to figure it out. Did you figure it out? Okay. Well, they're all queen vampires. And that's today's topic. So, light up and listen in. Let's start out with what I seem to think is the definition of a queen vampire. It is a female that in age, which means that she's lived a very, 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 very long time, multiple centuries, she is in charge by definition, whether it be a clan, group, or a small few, and whatever she says goes. She's ruthless in her pursuit of blood, sex, and eternal love. But even with all those three things, she's never satisfied. Queens, if they die, it's always dramatic or in some elaborate way. But she has to have this drive to survive and be the only female vampire that matters. Her powers of persuasion and sexual nature make her a natural at, using the art of playing with her food quite unique. And she needs that drama and attention. So let's talk about that first name, Miriam, first queen. That's from The Hunger, which is a novel by Whitley Strieber from 1981, later then adapted to a movie in 1983. So basically, Miriam is a wealthy vampire who takes human lovers and transforms them into the human/vampire hybrids. What I like about this movie, without giving too much away, because if you have not seen the movie, you should go see it. A lot of people don't like it, and it's one of those cult classic type things, so do what you will with it. But what I like about that movie is that the vampire/human hybrids, they can age, but rapidly when they hit like 200-300 years old, and by that time Miriam has kind of lost her interest in them, and she starts looking for a new lover. So they just start aging rapidly. And crazy enough, she likes to keep all her lovers, like a dirty little secret or skeletons in the closet, up in her attic in coffins. In this movie, it also shows that another female can overtake the queen and take her place to become the new queen. The second queen I would like to talk about is American Horror Story, the Countess, or Elizabeth from Hotel. If you haven't seen American Horror Story Hotel yet, please stop hiding under that rock and go do so. It's great. The Countess is by all means a self-made queen. Her backstory is tragic. When you lose your one true love and then you're always just looking for a replacement and figuring out that it will never be them, that one true love that you lost, it's pretty heartbreaking. Here we also see the importance of being healed by another immortal's blood and, what keeps the queen's strength up. And in my opinion, it's the best role by Lady Gaga, ever done thus far. The first time you even see this character, the Countess, the scene in which it takes place, it just screams that it was inspired by The Hunger. Later, unlike The Hunger, we see more and more how it differs and the complexity of this particular queen vampire, her life, her emotions, and her inner struggles. Because in The Hunger, it's maybe hour and a half, 2 hour movie or whatever, and Miriam just seems cold and detached. There's no complexity there. Her sole purpose is just to, she has a lover, and then when she tires of him, she gets another lover. Doesn't really show much. The third queen vampire I want to talk about is Akasha from Anne Rice's Queen of the Damned. The book was in 1988, and then later adapted into a movie in 2002. And Akasha was played by Aaliyah. Akasha, deemed the mother of vampires or queen of all vampires, is purely due to her age and how she is fed off of other vampires as well as humans. At one point, she hibernates with her king in the form of living statues, but she abandons her king when she is awakened by Lestat, offering him her blood and an offer to become her king. But it's weird because like she was sleeping for so long, and then when she finally does come to be awake and start using her powers to assert control, she just seems so gleeful in her like killing and her plans to be with Lestat. But in all actuality, she is really out of place. But she doesn't seem to give a shit. Her powers include, igniting vampire blood in another vampire so that, like, basically they burn from the inside out. She catches their blood on fire. And that she's a daywalker. It's not a requirement of queen vampires, but it appears that most of them are just so ancient and evolved that they can withstand the light much longer than normal vampires. Akasha is a ruthless killer, and once she has her mind set on something, there's no changing that. And it shows that in the progression of the movie, that she is solely set out for her plan. She doesn't give a crap. What is it about having a queen vampire that's more appealing than a king vampire? Is it because the, constructs from old that women are weaker, and by that thought of having a female character holds so much power, it's more interesting? I mean, if it's a sexual thing, men can seduce as much as a woman can seduce, and maybe even more so. It's been done, blah, 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 right? Let's look at the ultimate sex figure in vampirism, Dracula. He is a stunning example of the male figure with powers of persuasion. He has a velvet tongue in the seducing department and countless brides to show for it. He's usually well dressed, he can speak well, and usually has a sexy accent, which is definitely a lure. He can hypnotize, transform, teleport in some cases. At least he keeps his lovers instead of discarding them like a queen vampire. Just saying. They don't always discard them, but for the most part, queen vampires don't keep them around. It's all romantic if you really look at it. Vampires in general are a way to reveal repressed sexual desire, whether it be in a single person, someone who is taken, or someone completely unattainable in general. It's that I'm going to have he, she, whatever, no matter what, and it's that tenacity that is romantic. The thought that this being who is supposed to be evil, dead, or undead, whatever, or wrong by nature, has a heart too and can love. And that love and desire can transcend death. With a queen vampire, though, she kind of differs, as she seems to be solely interested in the concept of love and being in love for the thrill, the hunt, and the release of sexual desire. She eventually tires and moves on to the next one. Also, more than often, queen vampires are bisexual in nature and have been portrayed as that in many ways. A lover is a lover, no matter what gender. And if she's interested, she's going to go for it. In earlier culture, it was a way of expressing lesbianism and bisexuality, while also still keeping the interests of the hetero male as well. Sex sells, let's face it, and vampires know how to use and exploit it. So vampires have been portrayed as gross-looking or non-conventional as well, but the concepts kind of change a bit. Now shunned by their grotesque look, they kind of just become rapey. Just saying, in my opinion. They just take what they want, knowing that they will never be able to connect on a personal, loving level with another being. Vanity rules in these scenarios, and show us the vapid nature of humans when it comes to vanity. It is also a way for them to explore the darker side of a vampire, and in the ruthless killing aspect, and how they really have no feeling besides survival, blood, and their own selfish natures. Also the creepy side of hunting and stalking a victim, and the psychological warfare that they create in their prey. Like, one of my favorite movies is From Dusk Till Dawn. Why, you ask? Well, because we get to see the vampires as they are, an illusion of beauty, and they use that sexual prowess to lure their victims, and when it is time for the kill, they show their hideous true nature and the viciousness of how they only cared about getting their next meal. I also love the humor in that movie and how it's balanced with the horror and the violence. The queen vampire in that movie, Miss Satanica Pandemonium, played by Salma Hayek, and that whole seduction of Richie and how easy it is to play into it because Richie was a sexual deviant. Like, she didn't have to try hard. She literally zeroed in on him. Even in the end, spoiler alert, if you have not watched the movie, go watch the movie. It's a great movie. The pyramid behind the bar gives you a glimpse into how this particular nest clan, or whatever you want to call it, of vampires have been around and how they've survived for a long, long time. And that most likely, more worker bees are in the hive, if you catch my drift. The queen vampire that has a set hive or nest and is in control of that hive or nest is a formidable foe, and she has the means and powers to eat her own if she has to survive. Smart girl there. She holds so much power, and she breadcrumbs her servants into believing that she is the only important female, and if they do these things, that she will love and reward them, and blah, 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 blah. Or that they are so jaded that they willingly want to be her servants and believe in her ultimate plan, whatever that may be. Damn worker bees. A queen that has a hive or a nest is also less likely to venture out to even feed. And her prey is usually brought to her. But where's the fun in the hunt? So usually a queen will negate a subject that she deems worthy enough of a challenge and set her sights on that one, playing with her food. This could go on for quite a bit. But hell, she has people bringing her food, so she's not starving. She's got her little appetizers. And this leaves her able to go out and have a little fun with the hunt, play games. Hell, she could take down a whole family if she really wanted to, right? Flip side. A queen vampire without any worker bees, one that is basically solo, can be just as deadly. Look at the story of Camilla, or Carmilla. She basically places herself into this family setting and befriends the daughter of the owner of the place that she's brought to. And she has time to play, seducing the daughter as well as the dad in some aspect because they all believe that she's this innocent, sick girl and could do no wrong. And it could have totally been their downfall if she was not found out. Great story, also one of the earliest depictions of lesbianism in vampire lore is Carmilla. There's been a couple movies, but I think the best representation is there's an HBO show a really long time ago. I don't remember the name of the actual show, but they had an episode called Carmilla, and it had Meg Tilly playing Carmilla. It was really good, and it showed that even though this accident, this tragedy, this thing that happened where literally the carriage is run off the road and it's all messed up. Then you find this girl Carmilla, and they're like, oh, well, we can't leave her. We got to take her home with us. Make sure that she's okay and blah, blah, blah. And once they realize like she has no other family, they're like, well, Carmilla can just stay with us for now until we can really figure out what we're going to do with her. And that gives her time. She has time to befriend the daughter. They could become really, really close, if you know what I mean. And the dad is happy because now his daughter has somebody that she can confide in, and she has a friend. But inevitably, like, they start finding these things out that, oh, well, this girl looks familiar, and I think she was in this other town, and the town was afflicted with the plague, and then she left, blah, blah, blah. They thought that she was the plague. She could have brought the plague, and then they try to separate the daughter from Carmilla. Carmilla becomes enraged at that point, and things happen. I don't want to give too much away here. If you haven't read the story or watched anything about it, I don't want to give away too much, but basically, Carmilla, as a solo queen vampire, she could have easily taken out that whole family, hell, that whole town. She already did it previously. It talks about it. She took out a whole town, basically. Alrighty then. So the thought of the day is this. Blood and bond is sacred. To sever it is to bleed out, releasing that bond forever. That's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Okay? Stay creepy. Like Kimiko Kusanagi. Bye!